What is your understanding of the physics or the likely propulsion technology? What is your assessment of what the capabilities are and how it's being achieved? And then also, I want to ask about materials and energy as well.
We can only speculate. These things are so far advanced, we can only speculate. The best speculation I can come up with is General Relativity does a great job predicting something like a warp bubble. UAP do exhibit the phenomenon of sublight or less than light speed warp bubbles. However, that becomes a challenge when you talk about UAP that dive into the ocean and climb up out of the from under the ocean and up in the air. So warp.
So it's not warping space-time.
It's a warp in space-time, yeah.
Oh, it is.
That's described on Einstein's general theory of relativity.
Yeah.
And so the problem is
It doesn't, gravity warps space-time,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
So then these objects are changing space-time around them.
Yeah, they have a thin shell of energy, and the type of energy would have to be negative energy density, and it would be consistent with the type of energy density that you can create in the quantum vacuum. And examples of that are the Casimir cavity that has a little vacuum region that's bound by the two plates of the cavity. There's also squeeze states of light, where that's a laser beam, where you're going to take some part of canonical noise fluctuations from out of that part of the beam you're not interested in and pile it up elsewhere in the phase space, and this is getting really technical. So, so I'll just kind of keep it this way. You're going to take the quantum vacuum fluctuations that we know as quantum noise, shot noise, and laser beams. You're going to pile it up somewhere else in an area you're not interested in measuring, and you only want to measure the amplitude of that beam. And at that point, when you take the quantum vacuum fluctuations out of that amplitude, that energy density goes negative. And the energy density is the square of the amplitude. So that goes negative. And that's an example of negative energy. The mass of the Earth creates space-time curvature.
If it was, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, so that space-time curvature, which we feel is the force of gravity on the surface of the Earth, drags down quantum vacuum fluctuations of the quantum fields that are out in space near the Earth, in the vicinity of the Earth. And that energy density happens to be negative. And so this is an example of theoretically predicted astronomical sources of negative energy, as well as laboratory sources of negative energy. So that's what you would need to build a warp bubble. And that's what you would need to build a construct a shell.
Just a brief comment of clarification. We have two pillars of modern physics: quantum mechanics and Einstein's theory of gravity, which is curvature of space-time.
Right.
We don't have a reliable theory that combines
That's right.
quantum gravity. So what we are hearing is speculation. We do not have the knowledge to figure out if you can create curvature of space-time out of negative energy density, because we have never mastered this technology. We don't have an understanding of that. So it's possible that, a millennium from now, we'll have those quantum gravity engineers. That's possible. Currently, we're just like too primitive technologically to figure it out. The question is there something in possession of government that the scientists should look into? And I would love to help government figure it out, because it may guide us about a theory of quantum gravity if we have something.
Yeah. So we have good ideas about these things, and we can speculate on what the best approach to take to build a warp bubble, or the shell of negative energy that will create a traversable wormhole, which would be a shortcut through space-time between two distant points. But we have craft in our possession. There are no physicists literally working in those programs. They're basically mechanical, aerodynamics, aerospace, thermal control engineers, electrical engineers, and material scientists. And material science is a part of engineering often. Usually kind of overlaps chemistry as well. And they've never had a physicist like him or I. They've never had an applied physicist or an experimental physicist. And so they are really lacking in the ability to understand how these things work.
Sir, the legacy program has been very insulated and insular, so unfortunately, it's a bit of a, forgive my approach here, but a bit of an incestuous community. There's not a whole lot of outside involvement because it is so highly classified, and that's been some of the frustration and I think challenges, technologically speaking, because we haven't been able to recently apply new talent, new ideas, new theories to what may be, what the U.S. government may be in possession of.
And what about the energy potential?
The energy is a question.
Some of the things we're seeing, right?
Yeah, I haven't been able to access that.
Dr. Davis, can you talk for a moment, about the Nimitz incident, the calculations for the object to go from 80,000 feet within less than a second, 50 feet over the water? What type of energy requirement are we talking about?
Hundreds of times the total electrical energy produced in the United States annually. That's the kind of energy that is representative of the observed features and performances of UAP craft, especially the Tic Tac that the Nimitz encountered in November of 2004. And so it's hundreds and hundreds of times what the United States produces annually in electrical power. And so that compares really well with interstellar spacecraft that would travel relativistic or ultra-relativistic being anywhere from 90 to 99% speed of light. The energy is astronomically huge. So these craft, I don't have the security clearances I need to know to get access to the technical details, but I am made to understand that the craft are consistent in size with the Tic Tac, even double in size of the Tic Tac. That would be up to about 100 feet long by 50 feet diameter of that type. Boomerang-shaped craft, arrow-shaped craft, triangular-shaped craft, and so forth. The biggest ones that had been observed, especially that we investigated at Nimitz in 1999, involving Scott Air Force Base. That one was a 600-foot long craft, and it was about roughly 100 feet tall. And so they don't have possession of craft like that. I've never been told that. It's usually the more manned scale.
So they couldn't move.
Yeah.
So we might be able to.
Yeah, so we can only speculate. I know Jim Caskey wrote in his book, I don't remember the title of it, but anyway, it was co-authored with Colin Kelleher, who I worked with at NIDS, and George Knapp of KLAS TV in Las Vegas. And so Jim mentioned, and Jim was the program manager for the AAS, the OSAP, the AAS WAP, I think it was. And so basically he described in his book, somebody, I don't know if it was him because he never, I think he said it was him, went inside one of these craft that he had access to, and they couldn't recognize any propulsion or power devices or systems inside the craft. It was completely unusual. Travis Taylor and I have speculated that possibly they're teleporting energy from a remote distant location where the energy is produced and it's teleported to the craft. And that's how the craft can move around without having to carry propellant or a rocket engine or an advanced warp drive engine on it. That's one possibility that we've speculated on.
On the material, so what you have me thinking is carbon can take multiple forms,
Mhm.
right? And are you saying that that is the same with other material, other elements? The way in which what we found is different forms of these elements that we have.
It would be different alloys, it'd be different combinations of the elements.
And isotopic ratios as well, correct?
Yeah. So you're going to have a variety of whatever structural part of this that came off of the UAP, and I don't know because I didn't have waveguide acknowledged SAP access. I only had TS-SCI. So at the SCI level, I was informed that there would be combinations of elements from the periodic table, combinations of their isotopes. So you have a variety of elements as they naturally occur, or some isotopes of them mixed together in a certain way, and then they're structurally built in a very unusual way that even today we have no equivalent or analog to. So this is about as much as I was given information at an SCI level.
And then, do you have or can you comment on whatever species have been piloting these craft? How are they large? Are they multiple species? Are they like what is their size and how many are usually on a craft?
They're typically the multiple species. People are familiar with the Greys, the Nordics. People have talked about reptilians and insectoids. It's not that they're reptilian or insectoid, it's that they resemble to the recipient a reptile or an insect type humanoid. because they have this a head and 4 limbs and torso. So,
Large, small?
human size, human scale.
And are there, how many are crew?
Well, the grays I'm familiar with from investigating the crash at Corona, which is misnamed the crash at Roswell. It's not the crash at Roswell, it's the crash at Corona in Mexico. Those were grays, those were 4 foot tall. And the Nordics are typically human size, probably, I've heard 5, 6 feet tall. And same with the people who mislabel reptilian and insectoid, they're roughly that height too. I haven't heard anything about anything 7 or 8 feet or 9 feet tall of that nature.
So, dinner. Folks, what we're going to do here for time.
I think I stepped out at the wrong time.